start on this slide here. If you look, environmental limits lead to logistic growth. Not all biological population cycle go through the exponential overshoot and catastrophic dieback. As a matter of fact, some communities they really survive and they flourish and they grow. Internal and external factors can bring a species into equilibrium with their environmental resources. When the resources are unlimited, they may grow exponentially, and sometimes exponential means out of control. But this growth slows as the carrying capacity of the environment is approached, meaning the resources are becoming limited or becoming small, becoming smaller. This resource becoming smaller. So this population dynamic is called logistic growth because of its changes in growth rate over time. Limits to population size. Population growth rates are affected by external and internal factors. We have density-dependent factors and density-independent factors. Density-dependent factors, those affected by population size. For example, there is an increased risk that disease or parasites will spread out, or that predators will be attracted to the areas as population grows in size. Density-independent factors are limits to population that are non-biological and are the results of the capricious acts of nature. A population is affected no matter what in its size. That's always the case. Species respond to limits differently. We have two series here, or two series of species, one called R, the other one K. That's just a symbol for those. R is for the they have higher rate in reproduction and growth. Correct. There are R selected species, and the K selected species they have fewer less reproduction and fewer or less growth, and they have fewer younger generations there. So the R and K, R is higher rate of reproduction, and the K is the opposite, lower rate of reproduction. That's what it says. So we have two species in the community itself. Here, this is just to give you the idea, the difference between the R and the K series or of a species. So you will see that the R is always they have shorter life, but they have rapid growth, earlier maturity, and the K is longer life, but they are very slow in growth, very late to be mature, and you will see always those the opposite. The rate of the higher the rate of the growth is the R series. The lower rate of growth is the K series. So, and you can see here the number 12, low trophic level and high trophic level. The K is high trophic level, and the R series of species are low in trophic level. And we talked about trophic level by, there's a food chain, triangle food chain within the community itself. Community diversity. No species in an island. Of course, you know that the diversity is very, very important for the environment to survive. It has to be diverse. It can't be just one type of species living in one community. So in order to the community to survive, it has to be diverse. So, and the diversity properties of interest for ecology or ecologists are diversity and abundance, community structure and patchiness, and complexity, resilience, productivity, and stability. As I say, in order to have a community of a species to survive, this community has to be diverse. Has to be diverse in order to flourish and grow. Diversity and abundance. Those are definitions, as I said, the textbook quizzes I took before, and I followed the same thing, but with my own revision. Those are, and I guess the final exam will come the same thing, will depend on mostly on the definitions. So, as a multiple choices. So diversity as number of a different species live in one area, correct? So abundance is excess of material, excess of resources available to the individual, correct? The number of individual of particular species or a group themselves. So abundance refers to resources itself to be abundant and the species themselves to be in large amount. Diversity and abundance are often related. Communities with high diversity often have fewer individuals of any one species. Most communities contain a few common species and many rare ones, and that's a common communities. Is they have really few common species, but many rare ones. Community structure or spatial patterns can be random, ordered, or patchy. That's about the community structure. The random structure of a community, this distributing is the distributed population. Individuals live wherever resources are available, and chance events allow them to settle. That's random. So there is no certain of pattern they follow. Just randomly they can move around wherever the resources are available. Ordered or uniform patterns often arise from competition and territory capturing. So those are ordered or uniform. Patchy patterns result when species clump together for protection, mutual assistance, or reproduction. So those are community structure of species, of course, of organism or species. I will say animals, and one of them is human themselves. So human himself can be classified in one of those three types of structures of the community itself. So I will say humans are more ordered and uniform type of structure of community rather than random or patchy. And here you can see the idea of how this random, this here is random here, if you look. This is a random structure of community, correct? This is a very nice uniform. Almost you can see one species. I see just only one species, but here is a random. You have many different species are gathered together. and here clustered. See here, it's the same thing here. That's clustered here. Clustered is closer to be uniform, but it's like part of uniform, but the amount of the is less than the amount of species less than found in the uniform or ordered structure of community. Complexity refers to the number of trophic levels in a community and to the number of species at each of those trophic levels. You know, trophic levels always, that's the triangle with different type of food chain, correct? All type of food chain. You can see starting with this plants and trees and goes all the way up in the food chain. So a complex interconnected community might have many trophic levels and groups of species performing the same function. In most cases, the more complex the community is, the more resilient it's when disturbance strikes. That's really true. Whenever there's disturbance strikes, you will see those community is holding together, and this matter of survival, they hold together. So productivity varies in ecosystems. Another factor that can contribute to resilience is productivity. So we have primary productivity is the production of biomass by photosynthesis. Plants, algae, and some bacteria produce biomass by converting solar energy into chemical energy. Primary conductivity is expressed as a unit of biomass or energy per unit area per year. Productivity depends on light levels, temperature, moisture, nutrition, availability. And all those resources, those are factors, they might change per time. They can't change per time. They are not staying as they are. Are communities like organisms or assemblage of individuals? Are communities like organisms or assemblage of individuals? Well, there is a paper done by Henry Candler, and there's another paper by Gleason. They look at the whole thing. You can visualize the community. It looks by behavior and everything like an organisms together. So, and does it assemblage of individual? I will say to some extent yes, to some extent yes, to some extent yes. But again, community can be different organisms, different creatures, different organisms. That's what I mean, organisms, different creatures living in one area, and to some extent they can behave as such within this the same type of organisms. So Henry Candler proposed that the communities develop a sequence of stages, with the final and longest lasting stage called the climax community. Okay, and Clement felt this process resembled in maturation or mature degree of an organism. Correct? As I said, those are the same organism, the same type of organism living with the same community. They behave as similar, but those are not the same. They will behave differently, but they are co-living together with the same one community. So Gleason saw this process as more unpredictable, where species are individualistic, each establishing is an environment according to its own ability to colonize, tolerate the environmental conditions, and reproduce there. Gleason's view is more widely held. So Gleason's is widely held. So that's always really true. In one community, you will find different species. Those species within themselves might differ, but within it, I mean, with all these different species will behave differently. But within the same kind of species, they will behave similar, identical behavior. That's what it says. That's what it really says. Sessions describes community change. Now, sessions is the process which organisms occupy a site and changes its environmental condition, gradually making way for another type of community. Well, sessions means the first one might be leaving this community out, or might die out of, and then this community is becoming available to other species. And we have two types of sessions, primary and secondary. The primary is bare land colonized by living organisms where none lived before, correct? So there is one type of species living in a community for some reasons. Some diseases struck them and they died out. So their community is still there, but empty from themselves, but they can't be occupied by other species, correct? So secondary type, that occurs after a disturbance when a new community develops from the biological legacy of the previous one, correct? So the first one is the whole thing is the whole species died out for some reasons, by disease, by mishap, by any catastrophical event. So they die out, but their community is still there, but empty from them. They are not there, but their whole setup, everything is there. Resources is there, everything is there, but except themselves, they are just died out because of some reasons there. Then the secondary one, you will see that those are coming in, but they are weakened out, so you will get a new offspring from them that can stand more harsh conditions and survive, and develops from the previous weaker type of species. But they are the same species, but they are developed from them with the different features, with the different chemical and physical properties. Not identical, but they can stand more harsh conditions compared with the original ones. Here just show you the primary ecological succession. Okay, so as I said, primary, everything is distinct and comes, new ones will come and take over. And you can see they start with rocks. That's a community made of rocks, correct? And now this coming out, there's some small tiny shrubs, some small tiny grass in between the rocks. That's the second one here. Here's community, mostly rocks. It's empty. Here's now you have small tiny grass coming in, correct? That's grass dying out, and the new community of roses and larger grass are coming in. It's dying out. They have to die out. A new features, a new organism, a new species coming in. You see, the older one is not there, and that's what's make a distinction between primary and secondary. Primary you have a new species will come and take over. The secondary, it will develop from the older one with the new features, with the new better features and properties. And here you see that's a new one from that's the whole thing will get out. So those are out, and this is the last one will survive there, correct? So they have no connection with the previous one. Those are new species, have no connection with the older one. So that's what it says. Some communities depend on disturbance. Well, I told you that before. Whenever we have earthquake, that might be a big catastrophe for humans, but for some species are really a very good opportunity, because they can come out of the soil, out of the rock, correct? Come out, and then they can go to another places through this earthquake and live in another area with abundant resources than the resources they have inside those rocks. Inside those rocks, they have limited resources. So sometimes disturbance is really required to happen to let some species to live on, to grow further, correct? And that's one of them. Two major ones is flooding is very good for those species, and the earthquakes, and maybe massive hurricanes or wind turbulence. Those are type of mishaps or disturbance. They are really benefiting some other species. They are in a very limited resources they are in. So disturbance is any force that disrupts the established patterns of species diversity and abundance, community structure, or community properties. Of course, flooding, correct, earthquakes, hurricanes, what else we said, wind turbulence, tornadoes, all type of those disturbance are really disturbing the community, and therefore opportunity for new community with the new abundant resources might be available for those species. Ecologists have found that disturbance like floods, that's what I said, forest fires, I forget about forest fires, actually benefits many species. They are called disturbance adapted species. So I think that chapter 13 is chapter 13 is, I think, is done. We'll go for chapter 5. Let me just stop the recording.